Hello, everybody, and I hope you all are doing well. I'm back with another episode, and we're going to do this episode a little bit differently, and mostly just because I kind of just got inspired with another topic, and I think it's worth visiting and having a discussion about and seeing what you all think about it. In the past, I have an episode when I talked about some anime, and I talked about the NFL, and over probably the last, or almost the end of the year, probably since October, I probably haven't really done much with other topics, and that's on me. So my goal for 2025 with this podcast is obviously to switch up the topics and also having those other episodes just because the football season is not going to last forever and I don't want to be a one trick pony. So I'm passionate about more than just football. But I'm going to talk about some anime just because over the last about 2 months, I've watched a couple different anime that I've really enjoyed, and I'm going to vaguely describe them just so I don't spoil them and so I don't take away any interest any of you might have. And so the three animes that I will be talking about as vaguely as possible: Solo Leveling, Dragon Ball Daima, and Kaiju number 8. Starting with Solo Leveling and Kaiju number 8, my brother recommended to me. Like I had an interest in them before he recommended them to me. He just beat me to the punch in regards to watching them. Solo Leveling, it was one of those animes that kind of like, even though that there's only just one season, I'm maybe in 2025 I'll become a manga reader. I'm not sure, but it was one of those animes where it's like, dang, like I'm trying to watch say like 2-3 episodes max, but I end up watching like 6 or 7. But no, I think it's a really cool concept. I'm not sure technically what genre of anime there is because there's the isekai genre, and for those of you who don't know, the main character gets sent to basically another world, mind you, but I don't think it's that is the 100% true case. It has elements of an isekai anime, but I'm not 100% sure if it is. But regardless, the one thing I will compare it to is the Rising of the Shield Hero. That is an isekai anime, and the main character himself in that anime had talked about how the process of getting stronger is like a video game. Well, Solo Leveling, same similar principle in terms of it seems like a video game kind of, but I just think it's really cool. It's a lot of action packed. I watched the subbed versions of the Japanese voices. I'm gonna go and watch the English dub voices just because I remember seeing around the time the show came out the main character's voice, which also I'm not even really gonna say any of the main characters' names specifically in Solo Leveling just because I don't want to butcher any pronunciations. I'm just gonna refer to them as the main character or side characters. So yeah, no, the main character, he's just certified dog. I'm just gonna leave it like that. Certified dog. Yeah, just kind of seeing the tone shift that the anime takes, it's like relatively quickly. And I mean, anime wise, pretty sure it's only 12, technically 13 episodes. Because I'm pretty sure the first episode is called episode 0. But yeah, no, I just think it's really good. And I'm excited for season 2. And it might be something in 2025 I pick up the manga for because certain animes, they're been on such a huge hiatus. And no, I'm not referring to just like Hunter x Hunter. Another anime I was interested in the past was Chainsaw Man, and I don't even remember the year it came out. I want to say it came out my junior year of college, or 2022, 2023, somewhere in that time frame. But I'm hoping Solo Leveling is not the same, and yeah, no, I'm just very interested in it. Um, the next anime to talk about is Dragon Ball Daima, which I can talk about this one a little bit more non-vaguely just because people, Dragon Ball being one of, if not the most famous anime of all time. So the most descriptive that I will get with it is kind of just talking about the general premise. It takes place after Dragon Ball Z, but before Dragon Ball Super. At the end of Dragon Ball Z, obviously, Goku, Vegeta defeat Majin Buu. And in Dragon Ball Super, the first thing that you see and you get really introduced to is the concepts of gods of destruction. But yeah, no, other people from like the demon world were like Deborah from early the Buu saga. We kind of get to explore that, and they get turned into kids. And something that I just was very curious about from the get go is how strong is Goku in Dragon Ball Daima going to be compared to his counterpart in Dragon Ball GT? Now, something to mention is that more time passed from the end of Dragon Ball Z to GT, even though GT is not canon to the storyline, compared to when they fought Majin Buu to when Dragon Ball Daima is taking place. The thing I'm more so interested in is the Super Saiyan 3 transformation. Will we get to see it? How will it work in Daima? Because in GT, which, Goku couldn't sustain the transformation very long until he got his tail back. So I'm just wondering, because, we're, I think it's been about 10 episodes, give or take, 10, 11. We have not seen Super Saiyan 3 yet. That's the only spoiler that I'll give. Sorry for the lack of spoiler warning there. But yeah, I'm just interested in seeing, how that's going to work. But I think Dragon Ball Daima, it's been a huge success so far. Going back to me speaking kind of vaguely, I believe Dragon Ball kind of suffers from, mostly just focusing on Goku, Vegeta. They brought back, Gohan's popularity, his strength. Piccolo had some, spotlight. But I feel like Dragon Ball Daima, it's kind of opened it up so that a lot more characters can get screen time and, just be a little bit more enjoyable. So I'm hoping that, it continues with that because I think Dragon Ball was at its peak, at its best when all of the characters were involved. And I understand certain characters, they weren't meant to be in the spotlight. They wanted to live, be more isolated in solidarity, which I can understand. But I do think, when like Dragon Ball, when all the Z fighters were involved, I found it more enjoyable. Not to say that Dragon Ball Super is bad. I just think that it's more enjoyable when more of the Z fighters are involved. And yeah, I am very, very interested to see the future of it. And I had saw a lot of talks online, which is the last spoiler, I guess. Yeah, no, not I guess. This is the last spoiler top conversation. And I mostly saw it on TikTok. A lot of people were concerned because one of the villains, not the main villain, I believe, even I'm not sure, a villain was introduced in Dragon Ball Daima, and a lot of people were upset because of how the villain looks. And I saw another separate post that people were trying to say, like, hey, don't worry, just like hold your horses. Because the first forms of a lot of past villains in like Dragon Ball Z, like Frieza, Cell, and Majin Buu, those didn't look the coolest. They didn't look bad, but they didn't look the coolest. But when you see their final forms, at the time, final form Frieza, which is his base form, perfect form Cell, and Kid Buu, or if you want to take away Kid Buu, you can say Buu with Gohan absorbed. However you want to take it. And this first villain, as of right now, yeah, we just kind of see their first form, but I'm sure in recent weeks, well, not recent weeks, in future weeks, we'll be able to see, how the villain is going to be, depicted, how they're going to change, so on and so forth. So that is what I'm looking forward to seeing. Go Dragon Ball Daima, it's been really, really good. I've been really, really enjoying it. For those of you who are familiar with Dragon Ball, uh, it wouldn't hurt to watch, say, the original series when Goku was a kid originally, and then Dragon Ball Z. But if you kind of just want, like, if you just don't have as much time to invest, you can watch, some of like Dragon Ball Z. But originally, when I watched Dragon Ball Z, I didn't know that it started when Goku was a kid. Goku being the main character, obviously. So, like, I had watched Dragon Ball Z, then, just throughout my life, I went back to watch Dragon Ball, then Dragon Ball Z, then eventually Dragon Ball Super. But the last anime I have to talk about before we dive into the NFL is Kaiju number 8, which, that had been on my list. A lot of big anime fans, they always have a huge list. I mean, it's similar to the watch lists on Netflix because there's a lot of people who have a huge, huge watch list on Netflix, but just can't get to all of it just because life be lifing. So Kaiju number 8, I can vaguely describe this one. And this one, I'm a little bit more confident in the pronunciations. The main character being Kafka, a 32-year-old man in Japan. So for all sakes of purposes, I'm going to call the I guess, antagonists, aliens, even though that their proper name, they have proper names. I'm going to call them aliens. So the main character really, really, really wants to be a part of the group of people who deals with the aliens, but kind of can't get to that point of being one of those people who can deal with the aliens. So he's, kind of just living life, as best as he can, and then eventually, things kind of take off from there. So this anime, I'm literally 6 episodes in. I just paused it because I'm like, I gotta talk about it. I have to. So it's kind of reminding me of 3 animes in one. It's reminding me a bit of Naruto. It's reminding me of Black Clover, and it's reminding me of Attack on Titan. It's reminding me of Naruto because of all of the characters as a whole, so to speak. Just because being able to see them grow. Um, it reminds me of Black Clover specifically because of the main character. Which, just speaking briefly about Black Clover, Asa, the main character, does not have any magic, but his magic is not giving up. Yes, obviously, as the show goes on, he has his own, for all sakes of like a better word, he has his own kit to deal with that makes him pretty deadly. Um, but the main character reminds me of Asta in the way that, his strength is not similar to other people's strengths in their respective shows. And then it reminds me of Attack on Titan because it's serious. Like, don't get me wrong, Kaiju number 8, it's super funny, but it's not quite as serious yet to me as Attack on Titan is, because Attack on Titan from the jump, easily one of the most serious first episodes I've ever seen in anything, not even just anime related. So I guess there's my little pitch. If you haven't seen Attack on Titan, go watch that. But yeah, no, it is really, really good. And literally, as I was just watching it, like I'm just like getting a little loud just because I have the opportunity to be a little louder. And so yeah, I'm like, yeah, no, let me go talk about it because I have to work. At the time of the podcast right now, it is 12:58 p.m. I have to leave for work in about 2 hours. So yeah, no, that's really about it for the anime talk. I tried to keep it as vaguely as possible. I'm aware that like in a little bit earlier, I said some important details, but I tried to keep it as vaguely as possible, which in the near future, I'm gonna listen to this episode again and see how I can improve with keeping vague descriptions because I want to be as vague as possible when talking about anime because that's just one of the things that it's me. And also, like, last real anime thing is I'm gonna try to get myself another Christmas gift, in which this one won't be anime related. I want to get my next tattoo, which I'm gonna try to get it relatively soon, maybe just to start 2025. It being my high school football number from my uncle who passed away in 2020 from COVID, and I was number 17 in high school, and I want to write "Let's go, nephew" in the numbers because even when I was playing, I could hear my uncle. He was that loud. And the last story to really share about that being, I remember being on the sideline. I don't remember the team that we were playing, but my uncle was just being really, really loud. I mean, that's just who he is. That's just who he was. And so one of my teammates were like, "Man, whose uncle is this?" And I was right next to him. And I'm just like, I don't know what you're talking about, man. But the tattoo I want to get after that is from Demon Slayer, specifically of Rengoku. And all I'll really say about why a Rengoku tattoo, I want to get the words "set your heart ablaze," and I want to get it above my heart in that general area. The only tattoo I have currently, I got sophomore year of college. It is a plus ultra tattoo from My Hero Academia. I'm not even how much sure I've talked about my tattoos in previous episodes. I'd have to go back and look. I know if I would have talked about them, it would have been either in the intro episode or in some of the anime episodes that I've done. So enough about that. We're going to talk about the NFL. This is a big week. The next, pretty much from now to the end of the season, it's huge because there's a lot on the line. We're just going to jump straight into it. Broncos versus Chargers. This is a huge game because it has playoff seeding implications on it. I haven't looked at an updated playoff bracket, in a little bit. So if I had to imagine, this is me taking an educated guess, The Ravens are the 5th seed because they beat both the Broncos and the Chargers. And I believe the Chargers won the first matchup against the Broncos. So I imagine they're the 6th seed, and then the Broncos are the 7th seed. So the winner of this, I imagine, will get the 6th seed at the moment, give or take. And then just the rest of the season is, up to them to secure the 6th seed. I've seen a lot of people through like TikTok or like NFL insiders talk about, I think Bleacher Report had posted one reason why every team won't win the Super Bowl. And for the Broncos, they said Bo Nix was going to be their biggest reason as to why they're not going to win the Super Bowl. And also, I'm not 100% sure if it was Bleacher Report that I saw it because, last night I was going through social media and I saw it. I don't remember the exact source, but I do remember, is that the Bleacher Report or House of Highlights? I think if anything, maybe I just clicked on the link in the bio and it looked like it was Bleacher Report. But back to who I'm going to pick for this game. I will pick the Chargers, but I don't think it's going to be because Bo Nix is going to play bad. I think it's going to be because the Chargers, they're going to make a play, like maybe it's like 4th and like 1 or 2. Chargers got to have it, defensively to win the game. Broncos got to get it. Maybe they have like a run play, and then maybe somebody like Derwin James or Joey Bosa, gets the tackle, and then just offense is able to pick up a first down to win the game. Give me the Chargers for the defense winning the game. I don't think Bo Nix is going to have a terrible night. Texans versus Chiefs on Saturday. Give me the Chiefs, even though that I think this game has the chance to be interesting. I just have not been trusting the Texans O-line this season because it has had CJ Stroud just getting hit after hit after hit. Not as bad as Caleb Williams, unfortunately. I more so mean Caleb Williams, man. If the Bears had offensive line, their season would be different. But give me the Chiefs. I think Mahomes, he turns it on at the right time, and they will always be the team to beat until that somebody beats them. Give me the Chiefs, and give me Mahomes to have his best game of the season. Steelers versus Ravens. This is a big, big game. But the first thing I want to say, regardless of the outcome, is I think if the Ravens are able to win this game, I think you have to put Lamar back into MVP conversations. Yes, Josh Allen is playing out of his mind right now. And the one thing I think you just have to consider is that if the Bills kind of just keep winning out, say they're 13-4 and the Ravens are 12-5, that's not a significant difference to be like, okay, give Josh Allen the MVP. Because yes, Josh Allen has a better team record, but Lamar Jackson does have the better stats. And I think one game separating them is not enough to help Josh Allen. And Lamar Jackson already has that head-to-head, victory over the Bills. So I think if the Ravens are able to get this game, it will help Lamar Jackson's MVP tremendously. And I don't remember the insider who said it. I think it might have been RG3. He had said that if on Saturday and on Christmas Day, in front of a national audience, if Lamar Jackson plays well, and I won't even say, like, if he balls out like he did against the Giants, I honestly RG thinks he can get the MVP, which I agree. I really, really do. But we will wait and see. I think who wins this game, if the Ravens win, it honestly depends on if George Pickens and TJ Watt plays. I think because George Pickens has had a lot of good games against the Ravens recently, stretching back even to last year. TJ Watt, he's always a threat whether he has an amazing game or not, so you always got to put some respect on TJ Watt's name. The bias in me wants to pick the Ravens clear cut, but it's an AFC North battle. It can go either way. I'll pick the Ravens, but I won't be surprised if the Steelers, go into Baltimore, chip on the shoulder just because a lot of people have some question marks on the Steelers. So pick the Ravens. I won't be surprised if the Steelers win. So next game, the Giants versus Falcons, which this is a big deal because it is Michael Penix's debut. And so when Michael Penix was at Washington, I didn't watch too much college football, so I can't really say too much on how I feel. But what I do know is, one, this is probably the perfect time for him to debut, simply just because it's not against an amazing team, and, he's a rookie, so I don't expect him to throw for like 300 yards and 5 touchdowns. He sat behind Kirk Cousins because they're 7-7 now, so for almost the entire season. I'm just scared because I don't know what their next couple games look like outside of, their own game on Sunday. So I just don't want his confidence to get shot if he, even if he doesn't play bad on Sunday. Let's say he plays bad against a division rival. I'm just really, really hoping that is not the case, but we will see. Give me the Falcons in that one pretty easily. Next game, Lions versus Bears. Give me the Lions. The Lions are still really, really, really beat up, in which I think that'll really, really hurt their Super Bowl chances. But I think the Lions will be able to handle the Bears. Um, and the thing is, I think the Bears, like they let one slip after Thanksgiving, and we saw what happened with Matt Eberflus getting fired. I think that this will still be a good game, but I just don't trust the Bears' offensive line to really do Caleb Williams any favors. So it's crazy. At the beginning of the season, I was picking the Bears a lot. I don't remember the last time I picked the Bears. I have to go back and double check. Cardinals versus Panthers. Give me the Cardinals. I do think the Panthers will play well. I think Bryce Young will bounce back from his game against the Cowboys, which he didn't really play bad. He just didn't play as good as he had been playing in previous weeks. But give me the Cardinals, but I think this is going to be a weird game. I don't know. I just think we're going to see something weird happen. And by something weird, like maybe a safety, maybe like a questionable call, maybe I'm not quite sure. I just feel like my gut's telling me something weird's going to happen. Rams versus Jets. Give me the Rams. I feel like this is going to be a blowout. Rams are, on fire at the right time, and I think that it's only going to help them. And also, I think they need to keep stacking up wins to improve their seeding in the NFC playoff picture. Eagles versus the Commanders. I think the Eagles will win this game, but I think the Commanders will show that it's like, hey, this might not be our division this year, but next year we're going to be a serious threat. So give me the Eagles. I think Jaden Daniels will also play better against this Eagles defense now that he's seen them before. Browns versus Bengals. Give me the Bengals. My prediction for this game is Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. If they both play, I'm not sure of injury reports. Will both get 100 yards each. In which that is kind of crazy to say because the Browns defense is the strength of their team, but Bengals are playing desperate, so I would not be surprised if they had both of them get 100 yards. Next game, Titans versus Colts. This is a division game. I'm going to pick the Colts just because, I saw the highlights of Jonathan Taylor dropping the ball, which I don't understand why college athletes, NFL athletes do it. I more so see it in college football games. I don't really see it too much in the NFL. I don't quite understand why it happens, and I'm more so saying that it's just a weird occurrence. Like, if there's nobody in front of you, I would just imagine you want to get into the end zone. It's like you just drop your guard completely at the worst time, and drop your guard is not the best analogy to use for football, but it's like you think you have an easy touchdown, and I say drop your guard because I don't remember who I saw do it. Oh, I saw the highlight of Sammy Watkins like a decade ago when he played on the Bills. I think they were playing the Jets, and he had what should have been a walk-in touchdown, but he was celebrating, and Jets player tackled him from behind, which should have been a 75-yard touchdown, ended up being a big 50-yard play. And the thing is, I don't even think the Bills scored on that drive. I think they missed a field goal. I'd have to go back and look. But I just hope that, the Colts kind of come out on fire because they're also, fighting for a playoff pick seeding. By that, I mean they're in the hunt and, they have to, make a push to be able to make the playoffs. So I think the Colts, but I think the Titans play well. And also, I like what their coach says in the media because somebody had asked their coach if they think their players are soft, and I'm not going to say the words on here. Not that they're bad. I just don't want to say the words on here, but he's like, heck no. These guys are out here fighting their butts off, playing, through the whistle. He's, giving credit for your team. Like, he's applauding his team. Yes, no, this is not how the season they thought it was going to happen for the Titans. But it's like, if the Titans head coach was saying that, like, hey, my team is soft, if he was saying that, then it's like, as the players, I'd imagine your players would not want to play for a coach or a team that thinks you're soft. So I think he's saying all the right things. And yeah, Will Levis, he did not have a good game last week. And I remember on draft night, he's not dating the girl he was with on draft night. I don't know her name. But I do remember seeing somebody post on TikTok that his ex-girlfriend was there. And yeah, he just did not play well. So I don't know if Will Levis is going to be the starter for them in the future. Like, I don't even know if he'll be the starter for them on Sunday. But I mean, we will see. We will see. We will see. Uh, Another game to talk about: the Vikings versus Seahawks. I think this is going to be a sneaky good game. The Seahawks did not play well against the Packers on Sunday night, and they need to win to keep up with the Rams and other teams. But the Vikings, they're trying to catch up and get that number 1 seed because I think they're the same record as the Lions and Eagles now. I believe all three are 12-2. Game of the Vikings. I think this would be a good game, though. I think this game will be the type of game to be like, okay, we're down 20-17. We need a stop, and then the defense makes a stop. It's that sort of thing. So I think like a big play will happen that'll help them steal all the momentum and take the air out of like Seattle. Give me the Vikings. The Patriots versus Bills. Give me the Bills. It's gonna be a blowout. I think that Josh Allen will kind of, because he's probably the most that NFL fans, NFL insiders talk about with regarding to the MVP award. And there was a lot of conversations last year about him deserving it more than Lamar Jackson. And the one thing that I will say is he had Josh Allen last year had more passing yards and I believe more passing touchdowns. But Josh Allen did have 22 turnovers. Lamar Jackson had the better record. So I know I mentioned earlier about the stats. I believe last year the Ravens were 13-4 and the Bills were 11-6. If the Bills were 1 game behind the Ravens last year, then I think that I don't remember if Lamar Jackson, this MVP was unanimous. I think it was, but I don't think it would have been as unanimous if they were closer. And also, all the turnovers Josh Allen had last year, I think if those were not as many, I think it would have been a much closer conversation. I really think it would have. But I think Josh Allen is going to continue to, play well. And I think that if he wants the MVP, I think he needs to have a big game this week. But I'm sure with most people, even for those who don't have MVPs, like, the MVP is nice, but you want to be holding up the Super Bowl trophy. You want to have a Super Bowl ring. The Jags versus Raiders, I think this would be one of those games where just not a lot of people watch it. I'm going to take the Raiders, though. I'm going to take people like Brock Bowers to have a great game, but I see this game going either way, personally. The Bucks versus I almost skipped one. The 49ers versus the Dolphins. I'm going to pick the 49ers just because they have the better defense. And, last Thursday, they did not play well against the Rams. And, they need it, even though that their season is looking pretty close to being over. But they got to play desperate. They're going to be a desperate team. So give me the 49ers. Both teams need to win. Both teams really, really do. But I'm going to take the 49ers. And also the Tyreek Hill tweets. I'm not really one to engage or think too much about tweets, but he had tweeted, "It's time to go, coach," but without punctuation. And so because there's no punctuation, obviously it could have multiple meanings. It could be like he wants to, leave Miami, or he wants to retire and actually be a coach. I don't know. I'm not Tyreek Hill. I'm not going to speculate too much. All I'll really have to say about that is we will wait and see. We will wait and see. So the next game for Sunday night, the Bucks versus the Cowboys. Give me the Buccaneers. Give me the Buccaneers. I just think that the Cowboys offense is not going to play as well against the Buccaneers as they played against the Panthers. But we will see. And then lastly, the Saints versus the Packers. Give me the Packers. I think the only way that this game is close is if Jordan Love has a bad interception or two, or just people just don't take care of business. But I am pretty confident in the Packers. And now lastly, what I want to do is just talk about my updated picks in the NFL awards. My next episode, I'm going to really, really try to have some guests on, because I know the last about 2 or 3 episodes, it's primarily just been me. MVP, I think it's either Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson. I think if Saquon wants to win, he's going to have a crazy game, between now and, say, like after Christmas. Offensive player of the year is either going to Saquon or Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase is the Triple Crown winner most likely. I don't know if he's still on pace to break Cooper Kupp season. By break, I just mean, have a better season. Saquon, he's having one of the best rushing seasons we've seen in a long, long time, obviously. And I think if he breaks Eric Dickerson's record, this is the week that it's like you have to have a good enough week to be able to break it. Defensive Player of the Year is going to be T.J. Watt, even though that Pat Surtain of the Broncos is incredibly close. And I think Surtain, I'm not sure. His initials are PS2. Um, I think the Broncos corner can take it, depending on if TJ Watt's availability. Um, and when I was doing a little bit of research, I saw that a lot of people think that the offensive rookie of the year is going to be Jaden Daniels. I think he's going to be the rookie of the year. I just think it makes more sense. I mean, last season the Commanders didn't play well, and he's led them to, I believe, 9-5 record. I believe. I'm not 100% sure. I think he's going to be the rookie of the year. I think the only other person who can steal it from him would be Bo Nix. The defensive rookie of the year, I think it should go to Jared Verse of the Rams. I just think he's impacted a lot of games. But I think somebody to not sleep on is Nate Wiggins for the Ravens. I think Nate Wiggins, his start to the season, like guarding people like Jamar Chase, like Jamar Chase made all of the Ravens DBs look like little kids. So I don't know how many touchdowns that, he's allowed, but I do know that he's allowed the lowest completion percentage, which I think that works in his favor. The offensive rookie of the year, I think it'll either be Caleb Williams or Bo Nix. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they gave it to Bo Nix just because the Broncos have a better record than the Bears. But Caleb Williams, stats-wise, his stats are not bad. I mean, I think he's the only rookie quarterback this season who they just look like a rookie. I mean, he's shown flashes. He's shown a lot of flashes. I just think, for some of the games, Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, they've looked like they've been in the league for a couple of years. The comeback player of the year, I think it's going to be Joe Burrow just because last year he had a season-ending injury, wrist injury. But I think if the Colts make the playoffs, I think Anthony Richardson has a case. I really think he does. And I understand that he got benched. We just will see. Just last year he only played 4 games. So we will see. We will see. But I just want to thank you all for, joining in for another episode of this podcast. I really, really appreciate it. And I'll see you next time.